Well, the Canucks lost, and they deserved to lose. But hey, they got a point out of it, and honestly, there is enough good news from this game in just Spencer Martin to have actually enjoyed that game a fair amount. It was a fun one between the Canucks and Oilers. The Canucks come out of the wrong side of it. But hey, at least they get a point, and they're not out of things yet. So, as always, we'll break this game down. We'll give you my pluses, my minuses. It's a long list tonight, so a lot of my thoughts on this game. It was a very action-packed night, especially if you're Spencer Martin. And then, of course, we'll go to your thoughts, your takes afterwards. I don't have the comment machine set up yet, so hopefully I can get that done in time by then, on a night where also the Canucks make a big move in hiring Patrick Allvin. We'll get to that a little bit later as well, and I made a video about that already, so if you want to go check that out later, you can do that. All right, let's break this game down as we always do. It's Martin, it's Koskinen in goal on either side. In the first period, JT Miller is in, Tanner Pearson is out, and the Lotto line gets reunited, and they start off pretty strong. The Canucks get pretty close in the first period. We have Höglander coming in on a rush chance that gets stopped. We have a point shot by Schenn that gets tipped by Nils Höglander, gets through Koskinen, but he reaches back and is able to keep it out. So the Canucks can't get through there. And then McDavid draws his first penalty of the night. Brad Hunt gets called. He takes him down. I didn't like this call very much, just based on the fact that I thought Hunt sort of got body position on him, put the hand on the chest and sort of shoved him over, which you kind of can't do, but it wasn't a hold, I don't think. I genuinely think he got the body in front of him, so I think that's fine, but they call it. The Canucks survive the power play. It's a dangerous power play for the Oilers, as they all tend to be. But the Canucks sort of survived that one. And it's a pretty even period until the last 2 minutes, where the Oilers spend the entire end of the period getting chance after chance after chance. Canucks unable to clear. They survive it. Shots are 15-10 in the first period in favor of Edmonton. We go to the second period. Kyler Yamamoto almost scores. McDavid feeds a perfect backdoor pass to him. He reaches out, tips it, and it goes off the post, kind of like sideways too. Like if this is the post, it kind of goes like whoop, and it like smacks it and just barely stays out. Hughes bats it away out of the crease, out of the air. Really impressive play. And then McDavid draws his second penalty of the night, but also gets a penalty here as Highmore skates into McDavid. McDavid gets called for interference, which I think is a bad call. And then Highmore gets called for embellishment, which I also think is kind of a bad call. It genuinely looked like he kind of ran into him. Maybe went down a little bit easy. But look, if you're going to call the embellishment, then you probably shouldn't be calling the interference. And I genuinely think he just sort of skated into him. I don't think it was interference. I genuinely think that was just a bad call. It works for the Canucks, though, because they go 4-on-4. It's a good trade. Highmore is off, but Connor McDavid is off on the other side, and he's very dangerous 4-on-4. And Elias Pettersson does it all himself, makes a great move through the neutral zone, walks down the left wing, does this beautiful toe drag to the inside. And it's all about changing the angle here, because he can skate down the left wing, and he can just sort of shoot it at the net. And, you know, he can probably still put it in the same place. It probably gets saved. But what he does is he sort of pivots his body slightly, and then he grabs pulls the puck with the toe of his stick. It's a toe drag. Pulls it a little bit more inside, and it's right through Cece's legs. So it's a quick pull in as he shoots. So it changes the angle slightly. It puts it through Cece's legs. It makes it harder for the goalie to track. It's a great shot, and it's 1-0 Vancouver. That is the 10th straight game that the Oilers have allowed the first goal against, which is crazy. And then we have Lammikko going to the box as he pulled Draisaitl down. And again, this one, I thought Draisaitl went down pretty easily, especially after that embellishment call they had just made. But hey, you know, he did pull him down. Sure, whatever. And on this power play for the Oilers, Connor McDavid has a wide open net. And a wide open net. And JT Miller skates in front of it, just holds the stick in front of the puck, basically knocks out of the air, turns up ice, feeds Tyler Mott on a breakaway, and he waits for Koskinen to have to start sort of backing up. Garrett called it really well, where Koskinen sort of like had to do that little half step back, which means it's really hard to cover the 5-hole because you're moving sort of this way and you're moving your legs more like this. And it's hard to, while you're doing this, close them as well. So he goes 5-hole with a quick shot, and it's 2-0, a shorty from Tyler Mott. The Oilers again dominate the end of the period, but the Canucks survive again with a 2-0 lead. Shots were 11-7 in the second period for Edmonton. Third period, the Oilers start strong. The Canucks almost score on the counterattack again. It's a Dowling chase on 2-on-1, the two most dangerous players in hockey history. They can't beat Koskinen. And then the Oilers get back in it. It is the first mistake as a Canuck for Spencer Martin. A sharp angle shot from McLeod. Martin didn't have his post completely covered. He sneaks it sort of the perfect shot, like 20 inches off the ice, just over the pad, but under the shoulder, which he had against the post. And just sort of that opening there, sort of by your hip. He sneaks that one through to make it 2-1. And then the Oilers get another penalty, or the power play, sorry. It's their third power play of the game, and it is the third penalty that has been drawn on by Connor McDavid in this game, as Oliver Ekman-Larsson cross-checks McDavid lightly in the back. Now, here's the thing. They did say they were going to crack down on these cross-checks. So in that regard, yes, that was technically a cross-check by the current rules as they are calling them now. What bothers me is McDavid, from that cross-check, only dropped down to one. Maybe he got down to both knees, right? But he's looking at the ref before his first knee even touches the ground. They had the replay from sort of like the corner boards, like looking at it. And like, as he feels the cross check before he gets to one knee, his eyes are on the ref. And it's like, well, if you're going to call embellishment early in the game, you're going to set a precedent that embellishment is something that you're looking for in this game. That's kind of as obvious as it gets, right? Like, it was sort of a light cross check in the back, which again is fine to be called a penalty. But again, if you're going to set this precedent where you're going to call a penalty and embellishment, if embellishment happens, I think it's fair to call both of them in this case as well. That's just my thought. Mott gets another breakaway on this one. He almost goes 5-hole again, tried the same move, and Koskinen struggled with it. Almost had to stack the pads to make the save. And then as it expires, they were just pressuring. Spencer Martin made a phenomenal save on a Draisaitl one-timer, and then I think it was a McDavid rebound in the slot, or someone in the slot had a shot. The Canucks just couldn't clear for the entire power play. They couldn't clear after the power play, and Draisaitl just sits in his spot, which is like the low face-off circle, and he wires one home. We're tied at 2. Canucks finally get their first power play of the game as Puljujärvi gets called for interference, which also I still don't think was an excellent call. I think it's very predictable that the next penalty was going to go to Edmonton. If you look, there's like a chart out there that shows who the next penalty is called based on the difference between penalties. And I think it's something where if one team has 3 more penalties called than the other team, it's like 75% of the time the next penalty is called on the team that has had more power plays. It's so predictable. It's so obvious. And this was an abysmal power play from the Canucks. Just abysmal. I don't know if they even got a shot on net. It was a waste of 2 minutes and they looked terrible. The end of the last few minutes of the game was just dead. Everyone was trying to sort of hold on for overtime. So we go to overtime, and it's an exciting overtime. We have Draisaitl tries to make, has a shot, and it goes off of Spencer Martin's stick, and then off the post, it stays out. We have Tyler Myers being, I don't get what's going through his brain where you need a change in 3-on-3 overtime. So your 2 forwards go to change and you're the defenseman with the puck, with a lot of time. So you have 2 options. One, you back up into your own zone, you wait for the forwards to come out, they come back to support, you play it to one of them, you go and change, the D-man comes out, and then you move up the ice as a unit. That's the easy play. He went for the option of, oh, we're having a line change. We dump and change on this team. So he just dumps into the offensive zone and it gives possession away. It just blew my mind. It was just absolutely crazy. I genuinely don't get it. Duncan Keith almost scores on a drive to the net. Brock Besser dangles Darnell Nurse hard. Can't beat Koskinen. Draisaitl goes the other way with a shot that gets robbed by the toe of Martin. And then McDavid ends up scoring on a drive to the net, gets the pass across, and he calls game. And honestly, I don't even know if McDavid got a piece of it. It looked like it went off Dickinson sticking in. But either way, the Oilers win this 3-2 in overtime. But the Canucks get a point, and they don't fall too far back. They're still, again, sort of still in the mix in this one. So let's go over pluses, minuses, and all this good stuff. Let's start with the pluses. Let's be positive. Let's be happy for a little bit here. Spencer Martin is sick. Again, there's one goal that he wants back there, right? That first goal by McLeod, he probably wants back. The Draisaitl one, you're not saving that. No goalie is, seemingly. And then the overtime goal, it needed to be better defended. We need a stick lift there by Dickinson. We need the body played. We need something to break up that 2-on-1. It didn't come. Tyler Mott was absolutely phenomenal. His first period, I had him written down in my pluses. And remember, keep in mind, I usually have like 5 things that I talk about in the plus column after every game. I had Mott in there after the first period. He was fantastic in the first period. He scores the goal in the second. He gets another breakaway chance in the third. Excellent game from Tyler Mott. I think at one point he was leading the team in ice time. How much ice time did he get tonight? Tyler Mott, scrolling over, 21 and a half minutes for Tyler Mott. That is third in ice time on the team behind Pettersson and Miller, at least among forwards. As I think, Quinn Hughes, OEL, and Myers played a bunch more. But still, 20-plus minute game for Tyler Mott, who was absolutely fantastic. Justin Bailey, who was only out there for 7 minutes tonight, I think he should play more, especially more than a guy like Chason. He was actually good. He has wheels. He is fast. I thought he played a really good game. I think the game itself was pretty fun. Both teams had their feet on the gas. So overall, sort of a fun game. And the last plus is that the Canucks stole a point. They deserve to lose this game. And they did lose this game. And they deserve to lose this game. And again, I'll pull up the old analytics machine, as I like to do. Expected goals in all situations, 4.93 for the Oilers. Keep in mind, they only scored 3. So Spencer Martin saved basically 2 goals more than he was expected to tonight. Because Oilers were expected to get 5 goals based on their play. And the Canucks expected goals 1.74. So a discrepancy of 3. Expected goals, that makes it 74% to 26%, which is a huge discrepancy. If we just stick it to 5-on-5, it is still basically the same, 71 to 29. The Oilers dominated this game, and especially the late periods of each period. They were dominant, and they won the game, but the Canucks should be happy to have gotten a point into this one because they got outplayed fully. On the minus side, like I said, fully outplayed. 50 shots allowed, and Spencer Martin stopped 47 of them. Was he the first star? Did they list him in here? Yeah, he was the first star again. He has played 2 games for the Canucks. He's been the first star both games. Good on him. And we should hopefully have Demko back for next game. We just need negative tests from Demko because he's past the 5 days. He just needs to test negative, and then he can play hockey again. Overtime. The shots were 9-1 in favor of Edmonton. That's not good enough. Just straight up, you cannot get outshot 9-1 in overtime and expect to somehow win, right? The Canucks seemed like they were just trying to hang on for a shootout, which doesn't seem like a great plan because Spencer Martin allowed 2 of 3 in the shootout and or in the last game. So I don't know why you're playing for that, especially when you have guys like McDavid and Draisaitl and, probably like Nugent Hopkins coming in on you. Or Yamamoto on the shootout. That doesn't seem like a recipe for success. So didn't like the overtime, especially with Lammikko and Highmore getting ice time. Like they got a full shift and then Lammikko got another shift with Besser. I don't like that very much. The prolonged shift in the Canucks zone, Canucks really struggled to clear their zone tonight. And that is a big part of why Edmonton had so many shots and how they were just able to sustain pressure for long periods of time. They would have periods where they would spend 2.5 minutes in the offensive zone. And in a period like the second, where the Canucks got 2 goals, but they also allowed a couple of power play chances against, it's dangerous because the team that's hemmed in can't change, right? So you just can't get hemmed in. You got to be able to clear the zone. And that's been a big issue for the team tonight. I criticized the reffing earlier, and again, I think it was kind of bad in both directions. Again, I think every penalty they called was soft, genuinely. I think every call the Canucks had and the call the Oilers got, I guess they got 2 penalties. The Puljujarvi one, I think that one was kind of fair because he sort of wrestled the guy down in front of the net, but still in the context of the game, I think it was sort of a makeup call. And then the McDavid penalty for the interference, I didn't think was interference. So all around, weird, just sort of soft calls all around tonight. But the problem is the Canucks gave the refs the ability to make the calls that they did, right? Every situation that the Canucks got a penalty, they put themselves in that situation, right? I talked about the McDavid one which McDavid one? The one where he got cross-checked by Oliver Ekman-Larsson quite softly. Well, if you're Oliver Ekman-Larsson, you can't be putting 2 hands on your stick and putting the stick into the guy's back because they've been calling that all year. It's, even if you didn't do it hard, you're still giving them the chance to make that call. Vasily Podkolzin continues to not get any ice time. He played 7.5 minutes tonight. Justin Bailey, like I said, played 7 minutes tonight. Justin Dowling played 7.5 minutes tonight. The 3 of them aren't getting ice time. I'm okay with that for a guy like Justin Dowling. I think Bailey is playing really well. I think Podkolzin is playing better than Alex Chason. I think Vasily Podkolzin should be getting more ice time because when he's out there, he's genuinely effective. And you can look at the scoreline and you can see he has just zeros across the board. How do you get into the groove of a game when you're playing 7 minutes of ice time? I play in a beer league, right? I'm playing in low level hockey. And when we have 3 full lines, which means I'm playing a third of the game, so I'm getting 15 minutes of ice time in a 45-minute game, I feel kind of out of it at times. I feel like it feels like too long between shifts at times. I can't imagine playing 1/8 of a game or 1/9 of a game. I just don't know how you can keep your brain focused for that entire time. When you do get on the ice, how are you going to create chances in that time? He had 2 shifts after the midway point of the second period, according to Jeff Patterson. That's he just got basically benched after the Canucks. Once the Canucks had a lead, Podkolzin didn't see the ice again, basically for the rest of the night. And those are my thoughts. Again, a lot of them tonight. But this gives us time to go to you guys for the next 15 minutes or so. I won't keep you guys too late here tonight. I know we have a lot here. I'm going to pull up the comment machine, which I did get working. I'm going to hit this button and then this button. And then if I click on a comment, does it show up? Press this button. There it is. It's active. It's waiting for chat. Let's pick some questions here from you guys. And let's see here. So Quattrob starting us out saying that the Canucks played like they were on life support in the third period. That's very true. They genuinely just sat back. I mean, what were the shots? I had it pulled up here. The shots were 15-9 in the third period. And overtime, especially, they were hanging on, by a thread. Scout saying, love the effort, but here we go. We lost again. Yeah. The Canucks are in a bit of a skid here, right? That's 3 straight losses. Remember the last game they won against Nashville? That feels like so long ago. It was only a week ago, right? If it was last Tuesday, but it feels like so long ago after these games against the Panthers and the Blues, now the Oilers. And I was talking about how this game against the Oilers should be a tune-up game where both teams will probably score some goals, right? The Canucks have had trouble scoring. They had scored only 2 goals in their previous 2 games. I thought, okay, they're going against the Oilers. It's a good chance. Maybe they'll score 3 or 4 goals. They might still lose because the Oilers can score a lot of goals too. But it should be a good chance against a team that struggles defensively and that has goalies that are struggling, especially Mikko Koskinen. And they only scored 2 goals tonight. And again, you can't win if you're not scoring any goals. It's 4 goals in the last 3 games for the team. It's not enough to get any wins. Dean's saying Spencer Martin is clearly capable. They need to move Halak ASAP and save the money. They can't. He has a no movement clause. If he doesn't want to go anywhere, he will not go anywhere. And from everything we've heard, it doesn't sound like he wants to go anywhere. So he's untradeable. And you might say, okay, we'll send him to the minors. You can't. He has a no move clause. That includes sending him to the minors, which would require he would go on waivers. He can't be put on waivers. Maybe he could be put on waivers, but he couldn't be sent to the AHL because that would be a movement and that would be illegal. So the Canucks are stuck with Halak as one of their 2 goaltenders for the rest of the season. It's just the way it is. Let's see here. Dean saying they should trade Miller. Here the return would be close to Jack Eichel. Yeah, lots of people, there's a lot of comments about Miller. Dad seems very upset about JT Miller. Every single comment is about JT Miller. Chill out a little bit. Look, if the return is what it's been rumored as, and I think it should be, because I continue to think that he is one of the most valuable players, that will be on the market at the trade deadline, and you get him as a 2-year rental instead of just 1. I genuinely think that, if you can get a lot for him, you should. And I think teams should be lining up to pick up a point per game player on a very cheap contract, for 2 runs at a Stanley Cup. It just seems like a ton of value, for any team, looking at. We talked a lot about this last night on Canucks After Dark. You can go watch that after this if you want to hear more JT Miller talk. Let's see. Looking for some big comments. Kai saying, I don't love to blame the refs, but some of these calls were questionable to say the least, especially you gave Highmore an embellishment call, but not the same call on McDavid. Yep, I agree. I think I also don't like to blame the refs. I have historically done it a handful of times when I think that reffing is bad. And again, most of the time that reffing is bad, it's not bad in one direction or the other. Usually it's just bad. And tonight I think was one of those nights. I think they just made mistakes. And it happened to be more mistakes in one way than the other. Even though I don't think it cost the Canucks the game. The Canucks genuinely got outplayed. Definitely didn't do him many favors, though. More talk about Halak. Can't trade him if he doesn't want to get traded. Again, I think they should if they can, but I don't think they can. Krishna saying that the Canucks basically stopped playing in the third and an OT, so we shouldn't be surprised with the results. Fully agree. There's no reason to be surprised here. We can be a little surprised about their play. And again, I think they played pretty okay in the first period, especially before the last few minutes when the Oilers piled it on. It was an exciting, action-packed game, right? Both teams were moving. The problem is the Oilers were moving just a little bit more, and they were able to maintain that energy level throughout the entire game. And the Canucks weren't. Amina saying Canucks also allowed almost 50 shots. I think they did allow 50 shots. I think it was 50 on the button, which is not good. Assistant to the regional manager saying, IMO should get rid of Myers. Very bad hockey IQ and gives the puck away all the time. Here's the thing. Tyler Myers, if you get rid of him, you have to replace him with someone else that can play 25 minutes a night. That's really valuable in the NHL. The other thing is, I don't think Tyler Myers has positive value on his contract. I honestly don't know if they would be able to get anything for him without having to give up assets because his contract is so hefty. Again, he's pure chaos when he's on the ice. He does crazy things in both directions. He makes nice plays offensively. He makes boneheaded plays defensively. Sometimes he makes great plays defensively. It's maximum chaos when he's on the ice, which is fun at times. But I don't know if he has positive value on his contract. I want to see, do I have this open? The Athletic did these player cards, and part of the player cards is based on their analytics. They have a market value on their salary, right? So what they're actually making, and then theoretically what they should make as an unrestricted free agent if they were on the open market. Tyler Myers makes $6 million. They say his market value is about $2.5 million, right? So that's $3.5 million excess going to Tyler Myers. And in that case, that is not really a tradable contract, in my opinion. I wouldn't trade for Tyler Myers, is what I'll say. Let's see here. BL Tube saying Martin played out of his mind. Canucks have to start scoring. They're making these bad goalies look great. Also, can't blame the refs in these COVID times. Breathing near McDavid should be called. Okay, well, I'll agree with you on the first part. Martin did play out of his mind. The Canucks do have to start scoring. You say they're making bad goalies look great. I mean, they've played against some pretty good goalies. Husso's playing great for the Blues, who they faced in their last game. But yeah, Koskinen's not great. And they made him look decent tonight. I don't think they made him look great, though. The Canucks didn't have that many chances, right? The Canucks had 27 shots on goal. They scored 2 goals on that. Sure, that's a decent save percentage, right? It's probably above average. But again, we look at something like Natural Stat Trick, and the Canucks expected goals based on the quality of their shots and their locations was 1.74, and they scored 2 goals. That is basically exactly what they should be doing. And you look at the heat map, not a lot in front of the net, a lot from the outside, a lot from sort of the higher slot area. The Canucks just didn't get that many excellent chances tonight, and it showed. Jaskrin said I would have been fine with losing in the shootout, so the third goal wouldn't have counted in Spencer Martin's stats. I think his stats are fine. 3 goals on 50 shots? What is that? That's he had a 940 tonight, Spencer Martin did. He has this season, so in the first game, because he only allowed the 1 goal, but it went to overtime, or went to a shootout. So it was 1 goal in 65 minutes. So he had a 0.92 goals against average. He had a 971 save percentage in the last game, a 940 save percentage in this game. It'll average out. This game will have more value because there's more shots. It'll average out to like a 950. Decent 2 games for Spencer Martin. Even if he doesn't have a win in the column, he does have 2 points in 2 games, which is basically 1 win, right? We can give him that. Um, let's see here. Jake saying that JT played pretty well tonight. I don't care what anyone says about that. First game back from COVID. I think he made some mistakes. I do think he also played really well. I agree. I think he played a good game. And again, he hasn't played a game in a week. That's tough, especially when they've had all these sort of like random breaks interspersed. I thought he played fine. Yeah, he had a couple of iffy plays, but so does everyone in this game. It's not his fault the team lost, right? The team deserved to lose this game. I think he played fine. Let's see here. Jeremy's thoughts on the game, saying the refs took the wind out of our sails and the game went to Edmonton's hands. Martin stole us a point. I'm not stoked on our lines in 3-on-3. 9-1 shots against is just as bad as last game. So a couple things here. Did the refs kind of take the wind out of the sails? Maybe. I think the Canucks were sort of on the ropes the entire game, to be honest. Martin did steal a point. That is absolutely true. And the lines in 3-on-3, I agree they're bad. The problem is they are missing a full 3-on-3 line, right? Horvat and Garland are both out. In theory, they would both be out there. Maybe together, maybe not together, but they basically have like Pettersson, Besser, and they were doing Miller with Mott. And then they're kind of, they don't really have many players, right? Unless you want to go Höglander, Podkolzin, which Boudreau seems to not trust either of them very much, which I'd rather them out there over Lamico and Highmore by a lot. But yeah, I kind of agree on that point. Samuel saying good game. Pettersson played well. I agree. Pettersson played a good game. And that first goal, the goal that he scored, he did it himself. It was a really, really good play. And I honestly thought the Lotto line played pretty well together. I wonder what they were like analytically. Canucks on ice, all situations, Elias Pettersson, expected goals were 31% for Pettersson on ice, 29% for Miller. That's not great. Brock Besser, where's Brock Besser? 25%. So they did kind of get outplayed in all situations when it comes to expected goals while they were on the ice. But only a couple players were in the positive, and that is Niels Höglander at 60% and Alex Chason at 65%. Apparently Alex Chason is a phenomenal hockey player, and I have been wrong about him for my entire life. What else do we got here? Scout saying was really hoping we get some luck sometimes to steal games like this one. Ain't happening at all this season. I think that's kind of fair. They have been unlucky this season. And again, it really comes down to shooting percentage. We talked about this last game. The Canucks have the worst shooting percentage in the NHL. Part of that's luck, right? Normally a team isn't going to go at 7-point-something% all year, but part of it is finishing, right? It genuinely, part of it is finishing. And if you're not putting the puck in the net, then you can't score goals. Let's see. Is this updated? I want to see what their shooting percentage is. I don't think has it updated? Yeah, 42 games. It has updated. The Canucks are still the league worst, 7.4% shooting percentage. And again, like I said last game, if they were in the middle of the league, which would be 9.5% at this point, that would be another 25, 26 more goals in their pocket for the course of the season. So part of that is luck, typically. Again, most teams aren't going to stick at 7% all year, but also most teams aren't playing like the Canucks are, right? Where they're just taking a lot of shots from the outside and they're not able to capitalize. So if that is to regress, let's say they regress on that and that comes back to like an 8.4% by the end of the season and they shoot at a pretty good clip the rest of the way, they'll get luck, right? They'll get these games where they pull out some games where maybe they don't deserve to win. The problem is they're losing games that they did deserve to win, like we saw on that road trip against like Florida and Tampa. And they're also losing games that they don't deserve to win, like this one against Edmonton, because pucks aren't going in the net when they need them to, because they are the worst shooters in the league statistically. Let's see here. JC Van Dam saying a brutal third and overtime by Vancouver. You're right. Boneheaded passes to nothing. Especially that Tyler Myers one. I think that's sort of in our head a little bit more. Sober Sailor, if Horvat was here, would he have made a difference? Maybe. Again, it's probably just taking a bit of ice time away from guys like Jason Dickinson, who played 15 minutes. You know, his ice time might go down a little bit. Lamico might not have to play 21 minutes Lamico probably doesn't have to play 17 minutes. I should have said, which helps. I don't think that's the difference maker. Although it could have been, right, in a game that's a 1-goal game that goes to overtime. Sure, Horvat could have been the difference maker, but I don't think it would have changed which team was the better team on the ice tonight, if that makes sense. Let's see here. Blitz saying it seemed like that every time the Canucks are hemmed in their own zone for an extended period of time, it's Myers and OEL on the ice. Well, you probably think that because they are on the ice for half the game. And when Quinn Hughes is on the ice, the puck usually gets out of the zone pretty quick because he's that good. Also, a rare night for Quinn Hughes to just be zeros across the score sheet. Even though, again, I thought Quinn Hughes was really good. Again, he's so good. I don't understand how he's playing such good hockey. 28 minutes tonight. But yeah, it does feel like it's Myers and OEL because they're out there for almost half the game. So half the time it will be them on the ice when the Canucks are hemmed in. BL Tube, since Demko didn't come back with Miller, can we assume he was symptomatic? No, you can't. Especially because Boudreau said that no one has been sick so far. All it means is basically it's 5 days from the positive test, and then you just have to test negative. I think he's at day 6 right now. So once he tests negative, then he's back. So if he might have taken a test this morning that still came back positive, and if tomorrow he takes a test and it comes back positive, then he has one more day, right? So if Thursday he takes a test, it comes back negative before game time, which is what we saw with JT Miller, right? He took a test, came back negative. He's out on the ice with the team. That's all that Demko needs. And so I think we should see him back on Thursday. Amina saying, I love how we still boo Duncan Keith every time he touches the puck. Forever petty. Fully agree on that. Whenever I'm in attendance, I will gladly join in on those. Again, more talk on Halak. They can't trade him though if he doesn't want to be trading. If he doesn't want to be traded. Marjorie asking, can we trade Dickinson? Marcus on the same train. We need to trade Dickinson, but his value right now is probably so low. I think if you can get something for Dickinson, you probably take it. Again, I don't think he's really living up to, he makes what, 2.6 or 2.75, something around there. I don't think he's living up to that. Let's see if I can pull up his card here. Yeah, he's making like 2.7 ish. The Athletic has his market value, the way he's playing right now, at 0.9 million. So again, he is negative value contract wise, at least according to this. And I think I'd agree with it based on the way he's playing it. That passes the eye test. I think if you can get something for Jason Dickinson, I think you should probably look into it. And again, I think Jason Dickinson might have some value to a contending team. Just not this one at this point is all I would say. Let's see here. Agam saying, okay, we barely started with that D. Time for Trader Jim to trade for a bona fide top 4 D. Well, then you can say goodbye to JT Miller, right? If you want a bona fide top 4 defenseman, which is the most valuable asset in the NHL, basically at this point, yeah, you're trading JT Miller for that. So if that's the move you want to make, that's the move you can make. Irwin saying, agreed that Bailey's speed creates good chances. Does Boudreau have something against his defensive side? Can't say anything terribly wrong with his offense. I don't think he has much skill. It's funny because you watch him skate and you're like, man, he skates, especially when you watch McDavid go one way, then you see Bailey go the other, and you're like, Bailey is faster than everyone else too, kind of like McDavid is. He just doesn't have the puck skill or the agility, like side to side movement, or the passing ability, or all the other things that Connor McDavid does. I don't know. I don't know exactly what Boudreau maybe sees as a negative. It could just be that he hasn't seen Bailey play all that much, right? Bailey's only played a couple of games for the team this season. He's basically just been on the taxi squad, right? Or as a healthy scratch. So he probably just hasn't seen him play all that much, is all I would say. Fun Q saying, I was really nervous after that questionable goal that Martin let in, which would be the McLeod goal. He looked shook up. He looked nervous, but he proved me wrong. He was able to shake it right off and keep battling. Yeah, he battled. He absolutely battled tonight. He was very, very, very good in this game. Jeremy saying, play the best players, even if it means benching Chason. You sound that like it's such a tough decision. It's like, even if you have to bench Alex Chason, you should do it if it means you're playing the best players. Yeah, bench Chason. Fine by me. Kai saying, I never want to see Myers or Dickinson in 3v3 again. Hughes and OEL should be able to handle the workload together. Also, I'm not liking Pods and Hogg getting almost no time. Agree on all accounts. I do think that Hughes and OEL should be able to handle the workload together. They like Tyler Myers in the 3-on-3 situation because he is decent offensively, right? He can make a zone entry. That's one thing he's actually pretty good at, is entering the zone with possession. His brain shut down for a moment is what it seems like. I don't have an explanation for it. I don't know why it happened. I wish it didn't. But I think we'll see him in overtime again. What else we got here? Let's see. I'm just skipping a few. Again, I think all these questions about Halak came in before I talked about Halak, and there's so much talk about Halak wanting to get traded because of how good Martin was. But again, one, don't put too much stock into 2 games played by a 26-year-old NHL goaltender who's only played 5 career NHL games. I caution you on that a little bit. Because Halak has been good. And I think people are forgetting the fact that Jaro Halak has a .915 save percentage this year. He has just lost every game he's played because the team in front of him has not scored any goals, basically. Save for the one game he did win against Columbus where the team scored a bunch when he actually had a bad game. So don't get too far ahead of yourselves. And again, Halak has a no move. So he's not going to get traded if he doesn't want to. Again, if they can trade him, I think they should, but I don't think they will. FMD saying Mott is so good. Glad he was able to get a shorty as a reward for his hard work. I agree. Tyler Mott has looked better and better and better consistently. And he's really bumping up that trade value. I genuinely, I love Tyler Mott a lot. And I think he could get a really good return at the deadline. A really good return, especially since it's sort of rumored that he'd be looking around the $2.6 million mark next year. I bet that probably goes up with games like this if he keeps playing like this. If we're talking about having to pay Tyler Mott like $3 million next year, or you have the option to trade him and get some good assets, because I think most teams would really love a Tyler Mott on their team. If we're talking like a 2nd round pick or something along those lines, maybe even a little bit better. I think you really look into it, and then you can try to replace him in free agency for cheap, and try to just find more guys like him, which isn't easy, but hopefully with this new front office that has been instilled, maybe they can find players like that. We'll see. Ivan saying, one positive is that there's no penalty for too many men on the ice this game. Entertaining game, disappointing to lose. Felt like Miller lost steam in the 3rd period. I think that's fair. Yeah, no too many men penalties. That is good, I guess. Elias asking, is Canucks after dark tonight? No, it was yesterday. It's Mondays. Next Monday, it's going to be at 8 p.m. though, because the Canucks play the Blackhawks at 4:30. That game will end. We'll do this post-game show, and then we'll jump into Canucks after dark after that. NHL Canucks saying, trade Dickinson, Chason, Halak. I don't care. Figure something out, and trade Hunt. Trade Dickinson, sure. Trade Chason, he's not worth anything. Trade Halak, you can't. I know you told me to figure something out. I can't. That's not for me to do. And trade Hunt, again, you're not getting anything for him. And honestly, Brad Hunt's kind of okay, to be honest. Again, they need players to play hockey games. They don't have enough defensemen at this point. We'll take a couple more. Again, there's so many comments in here. How many people are in here? I don't have that open. 140. That's quite a bit for a loss. I'm actually quite surprised. And that's probably why there's so many comments in here that I haven't gotten through. And I do want to wrap up in the next 5 minutes or so. So let's take a few more. By the way, hit the like button if you're here. That would be sweet. Make sure you're subbed. That would also be sweet. Erwin saying, I don't mind the OTL point as much. Giving the closely ranked Oilers stings, giving them 2 points. Remember this game if the Canucks are still in a tight hunt close to the end of the season. Yeah, these are big games for the Canucks, right? They have this game, which they lost, but they did get a point out of at least. Then they play the Flames and the Jets. I don't know if that's the order. Do they play the Flames on Thursday? No, they play the Jets on Thursday, then the Flames on Saturday. Which are 2 games against teams that are in the mix with them for these playoff spots, right? Then they play the Blackhawks on Monday, a team that they should beat, so they need to win that game. And then they play the Predators on Tuesday, a team that is also in, kind of they're in the playoffs. They're in the higher in the Central, but it's a game that you want to try to get some points out of if you can. And then it's the All-Star break, And then they get the Coyotes, a team that they should beat. The Islanders, a team that they should beat. Then they have the Maple Leafs, and then they have the Sharks and the Ducks, teams that they're competing with, right? There's so many really important games coming up. This game mattered, but it didn't matter that much because the Canucks only gave up 1 point of ground to the Oilers. It's not the end of the world. It's only 1 point. That can be made up. At least it wasn't. At least the Canucks didn't get 0, and they have a lot of other teams that they have the chance to beat coming up here shortly. Let's take a couple more. I already said that, but I'm just scrolling for some. I'm just reading the longest ones. Except I'll take one short one. Is Jasper says, is Myers going to score a goal this season? He has 0 currently. Yes, he's going to score 2 goals this season is my bet. And I think one's going to be on like a 2-on-1 for some reason. So how you doing? Saying, if Martin resigns next year, do you think they try to sign him for like a 1 year, like a backup goalie contract? I don't know. Again, I think he needs to play more. I think he's fine. But I don't want to base big decisions off of 2 games played. Let him go back to the AHL and play out the rest of the season, and see how he does. Right. But he has looked like he has a lot of potential, even though he's only already 26, but he looks fine. Marty's saying, are we lucky this game went to overtime? Yes. We take those. Let's see here. Sorry. There's some questions. If you ever enter in a question and you delete it and then type it again, it doesn't delete it in my comment machine. So let's see if I can, Gmod saying, do you consider the season saved? We may not make the playoffs, but at least it's fun to watch. That's more than I expected. Yeah. Think about, I mean, the team was 8-15-2, right? After December 4th, which was that game against the Penguins. They were 8-15-2. Every game was meaningless after that. Remember? Every single game. We did post games for, every game before that was meaningless, right? And even after Boudreau got hired, every game was basically meaningless until they won 8 in a row. And now every game has at least a little bit of meaning, right? There's that glimmer of hope. How unlikely it is, maybe they're at a 15% chance or a 17% chance to make the playoffs or whatever it is. There's that glimmer of hope where that makes these games exciting. That makes you want the team to win. So yeah, at the very least, we get hockey that matters at this point. Maybe not a lot, but it does at least matter. And, it could be a really big trade deadline. And we have a lot of hope to look forward to with this new regime that's getting brought in. It's a totally fresh start for the team. Obviously, they'd like to get some wins to go alongside that. But I think the season is in a much better place than it was, 7 weeks ago. FMD saying, if we beat the Jets and Flames this week, this game will be forgotten. Let's push for the playoffs. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. If they win the next 2 games, then yeah, this game doesn't matter that much. David saying, hello, just subscribe. Glad that your Oilers won. Well, congrats on the win, David. Thank you for joining. I do appreciate it, even if you are the enemy. Let's see here. Again, I scroll and then more questions come in and you guys ask too many things and I got so much stuff to click on here. Agam saying Chason's problem is that he is slow. He shoots slow. He passes slow. He skates slow and he thinks a little slow. No argument for me. To be honest. Dean saying, why do the Canucks continue to hire people with little no experience? Why don't they hire proven winners? Because there's no proven winners already work for teams. If you want to, I think you hire smart people. And if you have smart people who, you look at the people who are leading these championship level teams right now, right? You look at Tampa Bay, Julien Brisebois. He was a first time GM in Tampa Bay. You look at Colorado, Joe Sakic. That was his first gig. You look at, again, I can't even I don't know who manages most teams, to be honest. I struggle with those, but what other teams are at the top of the table here? The Panthers. The Panthers have, who do they have? Like Bill Zito or something? Isn't he pretty new to the job? Either way, most good teams, you get the person before they are excellent, if that makes any sense. I think if you genuinely believe someone is going to, has the ability to build a good team, and if you surround them with a bunch of really smart people, which is what the Canucks seem to be doing, and you can build that culture of, hey, we got a bunch of differing voices in the room, and we're going to come to the best decisions possible and try to build the best team possible, things will work, is my opinion. You go with proven winners like assistant GMs of Stanley Cup winning teams like, I don't know, Jim Benning, and things don't always go that well, right? You go with established winners like Ken Holland, who goes to Edmonton, and he is not doing anything there. He goes out and makes trades for guys like Duncan Keith. Also, little no experience. So you have Jim Rutherford as the president of hockey operations. I think he's got a lot of experience, and he's overseeing the whole thing. So, again, you can't just hire proven winners because they aren't out there, because they already have jobs. And if they don't have a job, that means they were fired by someone else, which means they didn't want them. So why do you want them, right? I don't know. I think it's just being picky. Hire smart people. I only want to take a couple more. You guys are filling this up here. Agam, can we call up Rathbone soon? Yes, I hope so. He just came back for his first game, I think. So he is, I don't know if he's ready yet, to be honest. Karcharodon saying JT Miller with that save of McDavid. Without that, the Canucks probably don't get a point. That is true. That was a great play, to get the stick in the way and then to have the awareness to go pick up the puck and make the play out. That was excellent. Agam saying, my problem with Tyler Mott is I love him so much and I don't want him off the team. Same with JT. The saying is, if you love them, let them go. Wouldn't you love it if Tyler Mott got traded to, like, I don't know, Florida, and he won the cup? Wouldn't that be so sick for Tyler Mott? Like, again, I love Tyler Mott on my team. He is one of my favorite players. He is so fun to watch. He always gives it his all. But if you went and won a Stanley Cup, that would be so sick. And the Canucks would get, some stuff in return, and they wouldn't have to pay him $3 million next year. That's wins all around, baby. That's my take. Let's be positive about it. I think we're going to wrap up because, I've been going for a while. We're going for like 45 minutes, which is long for a loss. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with me tonight. By the way, if you aren't subscribed, do that and hit the like button. And if you need something else to watch from here, I upload a video on Patrick Allvin about an hour before the game. Obviously, most people haven't seen it yet because they were watching the Canucks game. But go watch that. It's my thoughts on it. If you want more of my takes on that, maybe I'll throw the link in the description so you guys can all go click on it. And if you go leave a comment on that, it helps me out a lot. Let me know your opinion on the Jim Rutherford hiring, or not the Jim Rutherford hiring Patrick Allvin. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Shout out to all my members as always. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Have a good one.